Come be a part of Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics with your host, Dr. Ed Holliday. Hear the voices of liberty speaking all across America. Doc Holliday provides thought-provoking interviews and commentary about the issues and actions that are afflicting this country and what we need to do to get America back on track. Get fired up, get inspired, get on board with Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics right now.
And here we go.
Once again, that's the sound of Rock Splitting Politics, and you got Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics right here on webtalkradio.net. And let's let the rocks be quiet just for a moment, because we do want to respect Memorial Day weekend and for those who paid the ultimate price for protecting our freedoms over the years. So we do honor those who have served, honor those who have fallen in the service of their country. Thank you, and thank you. And as we go into this Memorial Day week, we're starting it off on Memorial Day. I just want to let you know that so much is going on in politics, and we've been covering so many stories. Go back in the archives, go back in the last few weeks. Some interesting stories of General Flynn. We had Kelly Sadler last week talking about what was going on in the White House during the investigations and what she's doing to try to get President Trump reelected. And I told you we're going to be getting more politics, and we're doing that this week. As in a minute, we're going to get Kathy Barnette on the phone. Kathy is a black conservative woman who is working hard to help take the House back into Republican control, because she's running for the 4th Congressional District in Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia, and we're going to talk to her about that in just a few moments. But let me remind you, as you listen to Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics, be thinking about where you are in your place across this great nation, and get involved with local politics. Get involved. Very important that the Senate stays Republican. Trump will never be able to get who he wants on the Supreme Court if the Democrats switch this over. If the Democrats take control of the U.S. Senate. If the Democrats hold on to power in the House, what will happen? Impeachment after impeachment after impeachment. It'll be nothing but more and more investigation. So it's very imperative, wherever you are, look and see what you can do to make sure your senator is a Republican, your House member is a Republican, and work hard to get it that way. I don't care if it looks like it's impossible to win. This is the year of the impossible. Whoever thought the coronavirus would actually shut down our entire economy that President Trump had built up? And it has. So it means you have got to be rolling up your shirt sleeves and get involved. You get involved for whoever represents you in the Congress, whoever represents you in the House or the Senate. It's very important this year that the far left liberals do not move any further, and we got to push them back out of the House. This is a very, very well could be a tipping point of America from going conservative or going communist. Okay, the far left is nothing but pushing toward communism, socialism. It is something that is scary, and the amount of power they have, even when this president won election by the people, the far left powers, they handicapped him, they investigated him, they tried their best to get rid of him, and they could have succeeded very easily. They were so close. The far left has no morals when it comes to democracy. We have seen what Adam Schiff did. We have seen what former members of the CIA and the leader of the FBI, James Comey, we see the disastrous ways they want to govern through democracy with authoritism, the way they want to rule because they think they have the intellect and they think they have they have in place. It's like fascism. They want to rule and control. That's not America, and yet they've put up this illusion. They put up this almost like a cloud over so many people across America where they've caused them to believe in socialism, to hate our country, to want to destroy what our founders and those who've gone before us have put together. So, therefore, you must get involved where you are. Do what you can with what you have. And sometimes if your state is secure in conservatism, if you can go next door to another state that needs help, do it. By all means, do it, and start now. And one of the things we've talked about, people need to step up and run for office. And we have found someone in Pennsylvania. Kathy Barnette has taken the call. She is running for the United States Congress. She's running as a Republican, and she has a book called Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain, Being Black and Conservative in America. And she is stepping up because she's running for office. She does not have a Republican primary opponent, and she is going after one of those congressional members who voted to impeach President Donald J. Trump. In fact, I believe her opponent was on the Judicial Committee. We're going to talk about that and ask her about it. And let's get her on the phone right now. On our line today, we have Kathy Barnette. She's an author. She's got a book, and it's called Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain, Being Black and Conservative in America. And Kathy is also running for United States Congress. And welcome to Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics, Kathy.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we're glad to have you on air, and there's so many questions I want to ask, but I just got to ask first the title of your book, Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain. What does that mean?
Yeah, most people may recall then candidate Trump during the 2016 presidential election. He was in Akron, Ohio, and I was watching television, and there was a sea of red MAGA hats, Make America Great Again, paraphernalia.
Right. And
there was a whole lot of white people in the audience. And I would never forget, now President Trump looked into the camera. He's always going off of his, he strays away from his notes.
Right.
And it was like one of those moments. He looked at the camera, and generally up to that point, he had always been talking about, what is needed to make America great again, what we need to do to make America as a whole great again. And this was the first time that I had seen him pivot and specifically call out a particular segment of the American population. And he looked at the camera, and he was speaking primarily to the black community, and he said, "What do you have to lose? You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Give me a chance." And he really made what I felt to be a very impassioned plea to a specific group of people. What in the world do you have to lose? Our streets are some of the worst streets. Our schools are some of the worst schools. Trash lines, like I'm sure your listeners have seen the video footage of Detroit and the trash lined streets, rats and rodent infested neighborhoods. Right. And he said primarily to the black community, what do you have to lose? And so that is where I took the name of my book, Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain, Being Black and Conservative in America. And I kind of walk people through my own life. Growing up as a little black girl on a pig farm in southern Alabama, below the bottom rung of the economic ladder. I grew up in a home with no running water, no insulation, an outhouse in the back, and a well on the side. I remember my grandmother would ask me to help her in the garden, and I thought she just wanted to spend quality time with me. I had no idea it was for our survival. But in part, it was. And so, I just kind of take listeners through that. And, through my time, I spent 10 years in the military. Through my time of that, the perspective that I gained, I was an adjunct professor. Worked in the Wall Street environment for some time, landed on Fox News as a regular commentator, and now I'm running for Congress. At the time I was writing this book, I had no intentions of running for a political office, and yet, now that I look back, on my story, this is the obvious place where I would land, and that's the gist of the book.
Well, Kathy, in a nutshell, you really did a good job helping us understand you better. Now, tell us a little bit more. You running for Congress. Is there a Republican primary that you're in first?
Yeah, I am not being primaried, so I'm not being challenged. And so our primary has been moved to June 2nd. And I am running against the incumbent who is a Democrat, a very liberal leaning Democrat. She sat on the Judiciary Committee that impeached a duly elected president. And early January, she signed on, along with 42 other liberal Democrats, the New Way Forward, which is their idea of immigration reform that literally redefines what it means to be an American. And right now, she is hard at work trying to, conjure up more stimulus checks, direct cash payments to select Americans.
Well, Kathy, I know you're right in the midst of a battle then, so you don't have a Republican primary, so that's well. But how about the history of the incumbent? Have the Democrats kept this seat for many years? What's it look like? How steep a hill is it going to be able to beat this incumbent Democrat?
Yeah, this area leans left, but it hasn't always leaned left. Like most areas, it was staunchly Republican until it wasn't. Because one of the things Democrats have on us is they never give up. I don't care how crazy their new deal, their new Green Deal may sound, or their decriminalizing the border may sound. These people never give up on a bad idea. They just keep pushing, and that is what happened here in our area. It was staunchly Republican until it wasn't, and now it leans left. This particular incumbent. This is her. She's only served one term. She rode the wave into the House of Representatives in 2018 off of the hashtag Me Too movement and, women inequality. And what's very interesting about her is that she posted a photo of her and Joe Biden all hugged up with the caption, "I'm riding with Biden." So, very liberal, a social climber, does whatever it takes in order to, whatever is politically expedient for her. Just the worst kind of politician to ever have representing you. And so that's where we find ourselves.
Well, Kathy, for our listeners now, what part of is the 4th Congressional District of Pennsylvania? What cities does that involve?
Yeah, it is. Montgomery County is the largest portion of District 4. Montgomery County is the second wealthiest county in the state of Pennsylvania. It is a wonderful area to live in, and it is the southeastern portion of Pennsylvania. It's right outside in Pennsylvania. I'm sorry, Philadelphia. So it's right next door to Philadelphia.
Okay, well, that's a very important district, not just for you winning, but also for the Republicans to try to, if they have a chance to win the House back away from the Democrats, it will count on you winning that district then. So it's very important for you to win that district. And as far as our listeners go right now, you can tell them how would they contact you, find more about you. Do you have a website, Kathy?
We do. We would love for you guys to go there. It is Kathy Barnette for Congress.com. Kathy Barnette for Congress.com. We're on all social media platforms, Kathy Barnette for Congress. So please connect with us. And I may not be in your area, but like I often tell people, it was the House of Representatives that impeached a duly elected president. It was the House of Representatives that distracted our president from one degree to another between November 1st of 2019 and January 2020, when we could have been focused on COVID-19 and preparing ourselves for that. This insidious beast that has now taken over almost 60,000 lives, or over 60,000 lives
right.
now. But it was Democrats that was distracting a nation with their witch
yes.
hunt.
And one thing we've pointed out on our show several times is if there's an illegitimate person, it's Nancy Pelosi. They doctored up this Russian hoax just so they could get in power to impeach. I mean, for 2 years after President Trump was elected, they went on, and they had the media working with the Democratic Party, had half a country or more believing that Donald Trump was a Russian agent, and former Obama officials pretty much saying that. And they did that for one thing. Even though they knew it was a hoax, they did that so that they could get in charge of the House, and they would have never got in charge of the House if the truth had been told. And I want Kathy to give some input about what I just said. But before we do, let me remind my listeners, you're listening to Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics right here on webtalkradio.net. That's webtalkradio.net. Glad to have each and every one of you. This is election year. More and more people seem to listen during election year, so be sure to tell your friends and neighbors about Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics. And I'll remind you, we got a book out called Bedrock Truths, and that you can go to the copy of the book right there on our website of Web Talk Radio. You can see it, Bedrock Truths, written by Doc Holliday and Dr. Alveda King and Dr. Alex McFarland. Love to get a copy of that book out to you. And if you want some face masks, we got some cloth face masks you can order also. So check that out. And now I'm going to return to Kathy. And I was just talking about how the Democrats are in power really because of the Russian hoax, and it was pushed. That hoax was pushed when people knew it was not true. They pushed it for 2 years to make people believe that, and that helped get the Democrats elected in enough numbers to take over the House so they could impeach, and it's exactly what they did. And I want to get your input on that, Kathy. And
but just think about that. Think about, because now, as of today, especially since General Flynn information case is being opened up and the documents are now being presented, we are being presented with one document after another from FBI and various other people, Sally Yates and all, who all went on the record saying they did not see a connection between Donald Trump and Russia, that they did not believe that these things were happening. And yet, although they saw that information, what is his name, Adam Schiff of the world saw that information, he still came before the American people saying, I've seen unequivocal proof. I've seen proof that there is Russia collusion with this administration. Time and time again, they came before the American people breathless, and telling us that there's some kind of collusion. They're stoking the flame of hatred and division in our nation. And all along, they knew that those who were doing the investigation, that there was no credible information. And yet they drug our nation through so much hatred, so much animosity, so much division, all because they lost and they are sore losers, all because Donald Trump came in, flipped over their apple cart, and now he threatened their power structure, and they didn't like it. And it's not just Democrats, it's establishment Republicans as well.
Well, and you're right. And that's one reason I think, again, so many Republicans didn't even run for re-election in 2018 because I think they believe some of the media hype. and they didn't run for re-election, and it made it tougher on the Republican Party. But now this is coming out, and you can take this information, and your incumbent, like you said, she was on the Judiciary Committee following whatever Congressman Nadler was saying, and so I hope you can use all of this information that's coming out and be able to just blast her right out of the Congress. You should be able to.
Oh, trust me, it is my intention. Not only that, but she also received, her family business received millions of dollars from a former Chinese Communist Party member, back in 2018. And so I intend to exploit, just the foolishness, the hypocrisy, the lies of the liberal Democratic Party, and specifically the lady that I'm running against, the incumbent, Madeline Dean. And so I intend to do that. But we, the American people, we need to recognize that when we have good people who are willing to stick their neck out on the line, and trust me, this is sticking my neck out on the line,
right,
to defend my nation, we need to come alongside people like myself who are willing to do that, because this is our country, and I'm not okay. I'm not comfortable with saying, oh, well, this is politics. Politics is dirty. I'm not okay with being a keyboard warrior on Facebook alone, and not engaging and not doing my part to fight this, to win this nation back. This is our country, and we need to do that. But you can see you have these Democratic governors, mine here in Pennsylvania, who are, they do not believe this is our country. They believe this is their country, and that they are the stewards of this nation, and that they get to make the rules up. And they're, and these are rules, Kathy, that are defying logic.
When you're saying that, are you experiencing Democratic governor that's making, it seems like they're making laws? I mean, isn't that what the legislature's supposed to do? And yet we got governors making laws and forcing businesses to close down or shut down, and when there's no science behind it in some cases. So
yeah, I mean, like, there's no science. I mean, it's irrespective of logic. They're just, the governor here, Governor Wolf, who's a Democrat, he's just making it up as he goes, and he won't even show us the litmus test or the rubrics that he's using to determine, to pick winners and losers, right? Some businesses get to stay open, so they will be the winners in our economy, and other businesses are forced to close, and they will become the losers in our economy. And he's not even providing, the list or the rubrics that he's using to determine who gets to stay open and who closes. He's just making it up as he goes, right? Over 80% of the deaths over 70% of the deaths in our state of Pennsylvania has occurred inside of nursing homes, long-term care facilities. So why are the rest of us on lockdown? We understand where this is, right? In my county alone, over 80% of the deaths have taken place, unfortunately, in nursing facilities. So why, oh, why are the rest of us, healthy people, locked down and not able to go out there and to at least have a fighting chance to save our livelihood? It is defying all logic. The Democrats have gotten what they wanted, and that is control. And as I said to my husband, when we initially started with the 14-day stay at home, it's like, okay, we're staying at home, but now these Democrats are going to get a taste of socialism. They're going to get a taste of power, of that control over our lives. We're going to have to wrangle it out of their hands, and that's exactly what we're experiencing now.
Kathy, I know we got to go in just a second, and this is, I had so many more questions I'd like to ask. May have to get you on this program again sometime. But the African American community, they've been staunchly Democrat, 95% vote in most congressional districts. Do you see you being able to break through and get some African American vote to vote for a conservative Republican for Congress?
I certainly hope so. It felt much more likely pre-COVID than it does now, with Democrats coming out with, now they're talking about a fourth stimulus plan that will give direct cash payment to everyone. So I don't know, but one of the things the Black community, and that's what I talk about in my book, Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain, Being Black and Conservative in America. One of the things I talk about is that we have Democrats, the Black community has been the Democrat Party most loyal constituents for the past 56 years. We have since Lyndon B. Johnson came up with his Great Society, his Great Society idea. We have been Democrats' most loyal constituents for the past 56 years. And
right.
Like I ask Black people all the time, what exactly have we gotten for our loyalty? We haven't gotten much, because if you look at our communities, it is some of the worst. Over 74% of Black children are growing up without a father in the home. So our family structure has been devastated. Over 32% of Black children are murdered on a daily basis. For every 1,000 Black babies that are born, 477 are murdered in their mother's womb via abortion. That's a 32% kill rate. And so when you look at what it is we've inherited for our loyalty to the Democrat Party, it hasn't been much. Our communities are some of the most devastated communities, and our family structure is some of the most ravished family structure. So I am hopeful that this information is, getting out there, and that it is sinking in, and Black people are waking up to the reality, to the manipulation of the Democrat Party.
Well, you know your statistics well, and you are in a fight for America and for American values and the soul of America. You really, and I can tell by the passion in your voice that you're going to really give it a hard fight, and I hope that people will line up behind you, and that you can win this district for your political career, for America, and for the future of all Americans, African American, white, red, yellow, all the colors. We need to come together.
Americans, right?
Yes.
We are a family. This is our country. This is our home. I spent 10 years in the military. I traveled all over the place. And one of the things I realized coming back home is that this is the greatest nation on the planet. I'm so very grateful to God that I'm an American. It doesn't mean I have amnesia and that I don't know the history of this country, but it does acknowledge the fact that this is the greatest country that has ever existed on the planet, because we were founded upon the greatest political document ever written, and that is the U.S. Constitution. And we need people. The governor here in New Jersey said a couple of weeks ago that the Bill of Rights is above his pay grade. That's the governor. That's the number one person, the most important political figure in the state, saying that the Bill of Rights is above his pay grade. We need to make sure we retire people like that, and that we put people into office who understand that the only thing that makes us great in this nation is our Constitution, that is founded upon Judeo-Christian principles, but it is that Constitution in which this nation is founded upon. And I need people to go to KathyBarnettForCongress.com and to contribute. We need donations.
Well, Kathy, I'm glad our listeners got to hear you, and it's interesting that the U.S. Constitution Memorial, right there in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania, not far from you. Then,
yeah.
And so
I love it.
So
I love it. 1787. I love
right.
it.
So
is when we ratified the U.S. Constitution, and I am so very grateful. We live in a wonderful nation, but we need to do our part to fight, because these Democrats are not playing with us. They have told us who they are, and we need to believe them.
Well, get out there, work hard, and our listeners, I'm telling them all, go to your website, get behind you, and let's see you win in Pennsylvania this year. God bless you, Kathy.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. And that was Kathy Barnette, candidate for the 4th Congressional District in the state of Pennsylvania. Hey, our listeners in Pennsylvania, y'all get behind Kathy. Look her up on the website. For all our listeners, see how you can help Kathy out. Like her Facebook page. Look her up and see what you can do to help her out, because she is an important piece of turning the House from being ruled by Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats to getting Republican rule over the House. It is a big, big difference. Think about all the investigations. Think about the time wasted and the money wasted by the impeachment process. We could have had our intelligence committees seeing what was going on with the coronavirus. But no, Adam Schiff was too involved in trying to plaster lies and paint lies across the headlines. He had his head in the nasty clouds of bitterness and revenge and hate. And that's what we get when we have Democrats in control of the House. It's time the Republicans take control. Kathy Barnette is a big part of that, key to turning that ignition over and turning the keys and the gavel over to the Republicans. So get behind Kathy Barnette. Thank you for listening to us. Hey, next week on our show, we will get more involved in what's going on in local politics that means so much to our nation. So check back next week. Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics. God bless you. See you then.
Thanks for joining us today, and remember to listen again next week for another edition of Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics. You can order Ed's new book, Bedrock Truths, by clicking on the book cover right in front of you on the screen, or visit DocHolliday.org. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next week.